doesn't matter, they're not having to, you know what I mean, like, it's hard for us to manually scrape and stretch.
I was thinking like you could find like a book.
Also, there's still a lot of word hot rods because of quality control.
Yeah,
They would have big wrinkles.
They just make all the doors, you know, like 3/4 inch difference, and there's a big pile of them on the car.
What you find, like what I'm thinking would be like the old coach building.
Which one fits the best?
Yeah.
Let me interject here with a real life example of, I think, what you're talking about. So nobody in this room is going to buy a 1,000-pound press to make a part like this.
£1,000,000.
Nor will we pay to have the tooling made, you know, multi-million dollars to make the tooling. But a friend of mine got a job to make 50 motorcycle gas tanks that had a profile like this from the side, and were kind of a, you know, a motorcycle gas tank shape from a top view. And he made them in 2 parts, and he thought, you know, I have a 50-ton Harbor Freight press, and I'll bet that I can press these tank halves out of 80 thousandths aluminum. And I looked at the job and I said, Flynn, you can't do that. You can't do it. And he said, well, I'm going to try. So he made a tank from aluminum, the shape he wanted. He took fiberglass molds off the tank, right-hand side mold, left-hand side mold. From the fiberglass molds, he made thick fiberglass parts. So there's a right-hand side part, the same size as the finished tank, and a left-hand side part. So let's look at a side view of this tank half that's solid fiberglass, and then he poured concrete inside the hollow cavity of this fiberglass form. Everybody with me so far? Yeah. Then he put that form on a big steel platen, and here's the piece of aluminum he wanted to form, 80 thousandths aluminum. And to fit over this, he had pieces of 2-inch thick steel plate, 2 pieces. He had them flame cut with a profile just slightly larger than the size of this form. With me so far? I'm drawing sideways here. So he would sandwich this 80 thousandths aluminum between these 2 heavy plates. So let's draw a view of that. Here's the top plate. Here's the opening in the top plate. Here's the metal being formed. Here's the bottom plate. And here's the form he's pressing this against.
But the form is concrete.
So the form is a 1/4 inch of fiberglass with concrete inside. So it's very solid, it's very rigid, but made at low cost. You know, he did all the fiberglass work himself. So, you know, if you pay a company to make forms like this, it's millions of dollars, literally it is. And then he pressed this assembly down against the form, and he had all kinds of problems. It tore the parts. Yeah. He started with 3003H14. None of them worked. He switched to 3003H0. He annealed the pieces. So he talked about how deep you could get it to work before it tore. So with 3003H14, it went to about half depth before it tore. After he annealed it, he got to about 3/4 of an inch depth before it tore. And then he switched to 1100, which is the softest aluminum alloy. It's pure aluminum, nothing is added to it, very flexible. 1100 zero temper, and with that he was able to get full depth. But he learned so many things. One is that the radius of curvature of this corner is crucial. With a sharp corner, the metal can't slide into the cavity. And the more you radius the corner, the easier it is for the metal to slide into the cavity. So this metal needs to dome up deeper and deeper and deeper. Everybody with me? So it's sliding past this point. Oh, he used a lot of bolts to hold this together. I think he used 12 bolts that were, I don't know, 1 inch diameter. Huge amount of force. He learned that the amount of metal that sticked out past this opening was huge. With a wide margin, it couldn't draw into the mold very easily, and with a narrow margin, it could. So the width of the margin determined how much would draw into the cavity. Lubrication is critical. If you don't lube it, it can't move very well. If you lube it, it moves more easily.
Chainsaw oil.
Perhaps. Hang on one second. And there's one other. And when he made it work, the metal that got formed, I don't know if I can explain this well. So here's a big sheet of metal with a gas tank pressed into it. But the metal around it wrinkled incredibly. Now he was stretching 1-inch diameter bolts to enable the metal to wrinkle. So there's so much force going on. Now in industry, they don't use bolts, they use hydraulic pressure, but the amount of pressure is one of the critical parts that determines how easily or how difficult it is to draw the metal into the cavity. And he wasn't starting with the rectangular blank, he was starting with a blank he cut to the size that worked best for him. Am I making sense here? I'm just kind of giving you a quick overview of how anybody in this room could do this process if they were determined to. It's not rocket science. You'd have to learn a lot on your own. But it is possible with a 50-ton Harbor Freight press that costs, what, 300 bucks, 250 bucks? They're dirt cheap. He had maxed out the press, but he did it. He made 50 gas tanks. He made 50 right-hand side parts, 50 left-hand side parts. Several questions. Let's start with...
How long did it take him to do this, and did he make any...
Oh, you know Flynn Millard? Maybe you don't know him. So he worked in Scotts Valley. But go ahead. How long did it take?
And did he ever make any money off of it?
Well, let's not talk about that part.
So it was a lot of fun.
I honestly don't know how he came out financially, but he probably ruined 30, 40 blanks before he got the process to work. And I don't know what this, I didn't watch him actually do the for me, but I have one of the fractured parts. If you come by my shop sometime, I'll show you one of the failures he had.
Oh, I believe everything that you said there.
Yeah.
The wrinkling and everything like that.
Right. It's dramatic when you see this failed part, so do come by sometime. I don't know if he made money, and I don't know how long it took.
How long did he work on this project?
Months.
Yeah.
But he got the job done. He fulfilled his commitment.
You had to make 50 on an English wheel. I mean, man, forever.
Yeah, so if you pay a guy to make a motorcycle gas tank, it's several $1,000s. You know, that's the going rate.
So I'm sure you found at least a portion of that quite informative. It was quite varied, but that's what makes an event like this so important to see. I'm hoping that everybody that was here for the 2025 event will return. Also, I'm hoping for some of you that have watched this series will want to come next year, 2026. So be sure to subscribe and click the bell. We'll start putting this next event together somewhere around next January. And in March, we'll be putting the word out to start signing up. And the event itself will be in the first part of June. So you can mark your calendar now if you want to be present next year. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.